Hello. Welcome to this new video. This time we're going to go over the basics of Nmap and what you must know for your CEH exam. And not only that, I believe Security Plus also quizzes you on Nmap. When you get more advanced tests like OSCP or the CPEN, you're not going to be getting, like those type of questions like what does this command do? Has nothing to do with that. Remember, CEH is a good uh, basic cybersecurity exam, but it's not that hard. But you need to know a couple of things. So the first thing that you need to know about Nmap, as you could see, all the help you're gonna get from the help menu. But let me tell you, based on experience, not only as passing tests, but also as something that I use on regular basis, what is some of the commands that you need to know. The first one, you need to know what a basic host discovery scan is. So nmap space and you would type sn and you're gonna do either the 192.168.170, either the segment, the host, or the range. In this case, I'm doing the segment and it's gonna take place in a matter of seconds, but you can also do one specific host to see if that host is up or down, or you can do a range, right? So you could do from 192.168.172 that to that 25, and you could do that. So in this case, as you can see, you are not probing for open ports. You only want to see if that host is up or down. That's all you're doing, is pretty much a glorified ICMP or ping script that you're running here. Obviously, it's more than that. It works a little bit different, but it's the same concept. Now, once you know if a host is up and down, then you would like to know more about the host, and that's where you're going to be performing service detection. Because if you don't do this, let's say that if you just run the command nmap and the IP address, the system is gonna look for open ports, but it's not gonna provide detailed information about those ports. For instance, you know that on this host we have port 80 and we have the HTTP service, but we don't know the details about this service. Why would you like to know the details about the services? It's because that's how it's gonna help you determine whether that service is vulnerable, and then you can find the vulnerabilities affecting that service to see if that's something that you should be concerned with if you are auditing or protecting your network, or if you are doing pen testing, if that may be one of the doors that you're going to use to prove that the system is vulnerable. For you to get service version and detection, you need to use a different switch or command, and that is -S and capital V. Once you do that, the system is going to be probing the target for open ports as it did before, and it's going to show you all the open ports, but it will also show you the version of that specific service that you're running. So as you can see in this example, it not only showed me that HTTP is open, but it just identified the version of that service, and it says that it's IIS version 10, and the same for the other services. And again, in this case, I do not have any vulnerable service running on this host, but if I did, you'll be able to see the port and you'll be able to see the version of that service, so you can find vulnerabilities on that. Something that you have to keep in mind is that you may have a service that is only vulnerable on some specific versions, like OpenSSL, right? Like there's a version of OpenSSL that is vulnerable, but once you patch and install the updates, that's not going to be the case anymore, even though it is the same service. The other option I believe you should know is OS detection. OS detection, you will use minus capital O for that, and this is something that you have to keep in mind. This will not be 100% accurate, so do not rely on this option to identify the operating system of your target. In this case, based on the results and based on the signatures that Nmap identified on that target, it believed that it's running Windows Server 2019, or I believe that's 97%, and in this case it nailed it. But sometimes, depending on the route, if you're going through different routers, or if you're going through different hubs, or if something else changes, you may not get accurate information using -O. So that's something that you should keep in mind when identifying hosts in your network. Now, one of my favorite commands, I shouldn't use the word favorite, or one of the most useful commands, at least for me, and what I do on regular basis is -A, because -A is going to do two things at the same time. It's going to combine the OS detection and service detection at the same time. So in this case, you're going to be able to map out the services running on that specific target, and also the operating system that is running on that specific target, so you're going to have a broader understanding of what you're dealing with, and then you can find any potential vulnerabilities affecting that specific device. Okay, and this is the result of -A. As you can see here, it not only identified the open ports, but it also identified the version of the service, like what we saw before. But then it's also going to tell you, okay, I believe this is running on this operating system, which in this case, it is accurate information, and it's going to provide more information about the specific host, as you can see here. So I use -A quite a lot to find the information that I'm looking for. The other command that you have to keep in mind, and this is another one that I use quite often, is to find specific port scanning. As you could see here, when you do Nmap minus nothing, if you do Nmap space, it's gonna find all the well-known available ports, right? And it's gonna display that information, and that's what we see here. But what about if you're looking for, or if you want to get information on one specific port? You want to know if, for instance, port 80 is open on this device. So you would use -P, and then you will enter the name, the number, I should say, of the port that you would like to probe against. So you would do 80, and it's going to say, you know what, 80 is open, as you could see right here. Or if you want to see if, for instance, FTP is open, 21, you're going to see that FTP is filtered, which in this case is code for is closed, right? The system didn't know what the answer was to it, so we assume that it's closed. So that's something else that you have to keep in mind for your exam. The other thing that I'm going to add to it is that you can do multiple searches. For instance, you could do port 21, port 80, 3389 on one specific host just by typing the comma, and that's going to look for those specific ports on that device. Something that I don't use that much, but it's something to keep in mind, is that you can perform all these scans, because as you could see, by default, it's going to be scanning on TCP ports, as we see here, but you could use Nmap to perform UDP scans as well, and that is -SU. So that is something that you have to memorize for your exam and keep that in mind. You can do TCP and UCP scans and for UCP you would use -SU to collect whatever information you are looking for. The other thing to keep in mind is that with Nmap you are going to be able to use the preloaded scripts. And preloaded scripts, as the name implies, are just scripts that are going to perform one specific function. So the way you call them is Nmap space. You would do scripts equal, and then you will type the name of the script that you are looking for. Now, there are a lot of scripts. I don't know how many at this time, and you have the option of creating scripts if you wish. For you to find them, it's gonna depend on what operating system, I should say, you're using. The location for Windows is gonna be different than the location for Linux or Kali. In this case, I'm using. But in Kali, you can see all the scripts in the user folder. And you're gonna see all of them here, and they're all gonna perform one specific function, and they're pretty much named for the specific function they're gonna be performing, right? If you wanna find any vulnerabilities on this CVE right here, the MS0154, you can use this, so on and so forth. Now, you don't have to point to the script when you're using that, because when you install Nmap, that's going to be part of the path. So if you're looking, for instance, for one specific script, let's use what do we use here? Let's use the vuln to identify any potential vulnerabilities. So we do vuln, which is the name of the script, and then you have to identify your target. And again, for your target, you can do one specific host, or you can do a range or a segment. But remember, in this case, you are gonna be creating a lot of traffic, because the script is gonna be performing all the actions in the background. So if I do that, this is going to execute the script, and it's going to show results based on any vulnerabilities found on it. So I'm going to pause this or stop this. There's no point to let this run, but you get the concept. Make sure that you don't have to memorize. I mean, they're not going to be asking you questions. What does this script do? I mean, that's senseless, right? There's no point of asking that question. But you need to know the syntax, right? Or the command, the script, and then the name of the script. And then in the real world, you want to find information about what the script does, just Google it, or just see what the description is, and you'll know what the specific script is going to do for you. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is firewall evasion. But let me be real here. Unless you are a threat actor, or unless you are one of those highly sophisticated pen testers or hackers, and if you are, I doubt you're going to be watching this video, all these that you are doing in a corporate environment is going to be detected, or it's going to have the possibility of being detected depending on the solutions that the organization has. So when it comes to firewall evasion and evading this and going stealthy under the radar, most likely that's not gonna happen. I mean, like, we're gonna catch you right on the spot. But again, there's a reason for this, because you can use decoys. You could change the MTU value. There are a lot of things that you could potentially do and be successful in a plain simple network, but in a network with network monitoring tools, IPS and IDS, they all have signatures for this. So don't think that you're going to be evading them, unless, again, you are one of those highly sophisticated hackers. And in that case, no offense to my audience, to you, I am not even one of them. So, you're going to get caught. if you try running scans, like Nmap makes a lot of noise, and there are a lot of signatures to detect that. So the other thing that I want to bring over is the output, because you can create an output of the commands that you are typing. And the reason for that is that you can search on different format. You could create a grapable output, or you can do, as you could see here, XML or the normal output. And this is what we have here. If you do the ON, which is the default, it's going to be the default, like text-based kind of output. If you are into the XML, you can do an XML output. You would use -O capital X. Or if you're looking for one that is grapable, right, that you could then run grep against that specific scans, you would do OG. And this is something that definitely you have to know for your exam. And not only for your exam, this is a good best practice to export the results if you're using only Nmap, and have them in a format that is going to make sense to you. And again, the command is super simple. You would do Nmap space -O whatever you're looking for, and the name of the file, output that txt or whatever you want to do, and then you will specify the host 192.168 170.15. So that's the how you will type the syntax. Remember, this is the format that you would like to use, and this just represents the name of the file you would like to save that to, and the file is going to be saved on the format that you specified, and this is the target that you are using. And I'm gonna wrap it up here, because I thought that this video was gonna be only 7 minutes, and it turns out to be a 17, almost 20 minutes long. The other things that you need to know for your exam is using a stealthy scan option. You would use -SS, and for that, remember, it's just that it's not gonna complete the TCP handshake. It's not gonna be CAC. That handshake is not gonna be completed. As I mentioned before, in a real world, you may be able to get away a couple of times, but after that, the system is going to learn that's not a common behavior, and it's going to raise an alert. And by the system, I said the network monitoring tool. So don't you think that stealthy means that they will never find you? You will be found at one point or another, right? And then the other option that you need to know for the exam. And again, these are exam things. Whatever you do in real practice is different. You will use the complete or the full TCP connect. That's going to be the complete TCP session handshake that's going to take place. Lastly, all these that we're doing, as you could see, we're using IPv4, but Nmap also has the ability of using IPv6. And for that, you're going to be doing the same thing, but with IPv6, you would do -6 for that. So thank you for watching this video. I hope that this information is useful to you on two different sections. Number one, if you're new to security or networking, this is something you need to know. It's going to make your life easier. Number two, if you're going to take the CEH exam, I hope that this offered clarity on Nmap if you're new, and also make sure that you memorize those switches, those syntaxes, because they're going to ask you those questions, right? And on the written exam or the the test, you're not going to have the option of open up the command prompt and see the available options. So I hope that this information was useful. If you find it useful, all I ask you for you to do is click on the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and also why don't you leave a nice comment on the comment sections, and that will help the YouTube algorithm to spread this video to other people who may need it. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you on the next video.